What up guys, Super Metal 983 here bringing us another episode of Super Metal Recommendations, and this is episode 14, and in this episode we're going to change things up a little bit. I know it's not been long since we last Super Metal Recommendations, but I decided to crack out my camera and do another one for yous, and there is going to be some changes to the Super Metal Recommendations from now on. And that is, I'm going to start featuring albums that have been released within this calendar year. I said, so take 2019 for example, I'm going to start maybe featuring a couple of albums that I feel like I couldn't do an in-depth review of, but I could talk about and definitely want to promote the fact of these albums and tell you, go and check them out. I want to start doing that a little bit more, then there's less stress on doing album reviews of releases from the calendar year, but I'm still going to be featuring older albums and stuff that I still think you should be checking out and stuff that I've recently been listening to. And we have 5 releases once again, and I believe these are all albums, so yeah, let's get on with this Super Metal Recommendations. And the first one is a recent release that I've recently checked out, and as you know from my last Super Metal Recommendations, I've been really enjoying the Swedish side of straight up death metal, the classic Entomb, Dismember sort of sound. And this album that I've recently discovered is an absolute banger in that style, and that is Danse Macabre by Bæst, which is obviously spelled a little bit different. Bæst is spelled B-A-E-S-T. Yeah, and Danse is spelled D-E-N-S-E, and Macabre is obviously spelled exactly the same. But anyway, yeah, this is an absolutely viscerating album. As I said, I've been loving the Swedish style of death metal, so if you've got any recommendations for myself to check out in that sort of style, leave a comment down below. There might be some stuff that I haven't checked out. But anyway, yeah, but this album is absolutely riffing. It's very, very aggressive, and I absolutely love that fact. It has to be very aggressive, because there's a lot of Swedish death metal that I've come across where it's raw and vicious sounding, but the overall intensity of the record just doesn't, just makes us just go meh, personally. But this is definitely not one of those. This is some really quality Swedish death metal. So if you're into that sort of style, it says on the front, if you're a fan of Bloodbath, Dismember or Morbid Angel, which is a perfect summary if you ask me. So if you want some really quality death metal, definitely check out this album. This was released in 2018, and I'd just like to say Natskog on YouTube, who I've promoted before, he introduced us to this band, and it's absolutely fantastic. So make sure you check out this album. It's riffing, if you ask me. Then we're going to move on to some deathcore from 2019, and these next two are the 2019 releases that I wanted to talk about in this episode. And this is some deathcore from Unique Leader, and I did get the promo for this, and I really enjoy it, but all the more recently I've been really, really enjoying this. But this is Brand of Sacrifice with their debut album entitled God Hand. Just look at that cover, man. Great, great stuff. But yeah, if you're into bands like Within Destruction, for example, you'll find yourself at home with this album. This is complete and utter annihilating deathcore. And an interesting fact about this album is it's based on the anime, I believe it's called Berserk. My guitarist told us this, and he's absolutely in love with this album, and it made me go back and check it out and also pick it up on CD. And honestly, this is some really intense, barbaric, and just relentless deathcore. It put us in mind in the same sort of mindset that when I first heard Void by Within Destruction. It's along that chaotic, blistering sort of style of deathcore, but when the breakdowns come in, it's just an absolute smack in the face, and oh my god, it's just definitely one of the highlighted deathcore albums of 2019, if you ask me. So if you want some really quality technical deathcore to listen to, check out Brand of Sacrifice's debut album, God Hand. It's fantastic stuff, and yeah, make sure you check it out. Fantastic. Next up, we have some more death metal right here, and as I said, I've been loving the death metal sound recently, and this one was right at the prime of when I was checking it out, and this one is absolutely fantastic. It's the new Firespawn album entitled Abominate. Now, in all honesty, their last album I felt was good, but it didn't feel like it held a candlelight to the band's debut album, which I can't remember the title of either of the albums at the moment. But honestly, this album, when I first heard it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a check out, because it had been out about a month, maybe a month and a half or something like that, I don't know. But I decided to check it out because I thought, you know what, I haven't listened to them in a while, and I stuck this on, and I was in awe just listening to it. From the first song, the growls then kicking in, it was just like, oh, this is just what I need. And then when I got the title track, Abominate, I was like, yeah, I need to order this CD. So I looked on Amazon, and it was going for fairly cheap. I can't remember, I think it was like £6, maybe even less than that. So I decided to pick it up, and then when I bought it on Amazon, the song Heathen Blood came on. I was like, oh, that might behind it. It really, I'm not gonna lie, it put us in mind of old school Amon Amarth, really catchy groove and just intensity, and it's just incredible. It's still got a little bit of melodicness in there, but it's like really Swedish defining, if you ask me. So if that sounds up your alley, then definitely check out this album. It's a super group, by the way, and they've done 2 albums, as I said, and this one has to be their best, if you ask me. Definitely one of my highlighted death metal records of 2019, definitely. So check that out. I highly, highly recommend it. Just gonna get a quick drink of my cover. Death once again. Anyways, some more death metal right here, and this is another one from 2018, and this was released under Season of Mist, and this one has just blew me away recently. Like, as soon as I picked it up, I was so happy to have it in my collection, but in general, it's just an absolute banger of an album, and a lot of people have been talking about this album, and I can understand the hype. So if you want some really quality death metal that you may or may not have heard of, then this is definitely one to check out. But this is Carnation with Chapel of Abhorrence, which is this one right here. I'm trying to battle that glare, but honestly, this album is absolutely fantastic. It's also inspired the thumbnail for this video, but oh my god, this is just quality death metal. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites to listen to at the moment. It's like a go-to album for me when it comes to death metal, and it kind of in some ways it kind of reminds us of Cannibal Corpse, of that maybe Evisceration Plague sort of vibes in there. That's what I detect anyway. But it's still got that really old school sort of sound going for it. It says on the front, for recommendations of Autopsy, Entombed, and Bolt Thrower. And that is another perfect, you know, comparisons, should we just say. And if you're into those bands, then this is definitely for you. It's just absolutely fantastic. I'm absolutely blown away by this album, and I can understand completely why it's getting the hype that, and honestly, it is deserved. And you may not be able to see, oh, you can a little bit, but all over. The guys signed it for us when I ordered it from them, so I really appreciate it, guys. But yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. If I'd heard this in 2018, it would have made me top albums, because this is just, it's just so gritty and so goddamn good. So if you want some quality death metal, Carnation with Chapel of Abhorrence. Excellent stuff. And the final album we're going to be talking about today is an album that I've recently gone back to as my bedtime lullaby, should we just say. It's what I call my playlist when I'm selecting an album. But anyway, yeah, this album went on recently, and I was in awe just listening to it, and just sent us off into a beautiful night's sleep. And I just had to talk about it because it put us back in mind when I first discovered this band. I'm talking about Alcest with their, when did this come out? 2012 album entitled Les Voyages De L'Âme, I believe how it's pronounced. But yeah, I discovered these, can't remember what year it was off the top of my head. I think it might have been 2012 actually, but it was on the Catatonia tour with Alcest as main support and Junius, and me and my old friend, we went to that gig, and it was still one of the most memorable gigs for me. All the bands put on astonishing, beautiful sets, full of elegance, full of atmosphere, and it was a night to remember, if you ask me. And that's when I first started exploring more into Catatonia. But Alcest definitely stole the show for me that day. And I strive to get, in fact, I bought this album on that show. And ever since then, it's been a lullaby album for me, because the beauty in this album. I mean, I was really into atmospheric black metal at the time, and this is very atmospheric, and it does have a twinge of black metal in there for good measure. But the beautiful post-black metal, post-metal elements on here that really create this overwhelming, beautiful elegant sensation on there. It's just something to behold, man. It makes me hairs stand on end every single time. And it was definitely a kind of random pick on my CD shelf when I was picking an album to listen to, but I'm so glad I went back to it, because this is just a mesmerising album. It's definitely become one of my favourite atmospheric, softer albums to listen to. So if you want some absolute quality stuff to listen to that's not in any ways means heavy, it's just beautiful and picturesque, this is definitely an album for you, and definitely worthy of the main super metal recommendations of this video. So if you want some quality, beautiful stuff, definitely check out Alcest with Les Voyages De L'Âme. They've done some other great albums, like, what's the album called? Escale de Lune. Yeah, that is a beautiful album in itself, but it's still got a bit of a grit to it that takes away from the beauty a little. That's just my personal opinion. It's still a fantastic album. It's just not the perfect bedtime album. And the later albums have followed were Shelter and Kodama, I believe it is. I believe that's what it's pronounced. I don't know. But yeah, that one. They are beautiful, but they're not as elegant as this album, if you ask me. So if you want some quality stuff, definitely check this one out. And we're going to run back through the albums as usual. So that's Alcest, Les Voyages De L'Âme. And then we've got Carnation with Chapel of Abhorrence. Great death metal. And some quality 2019 death metal. Firespawn with Abominate. Some intense deathcore in the shape of Brand of Sacrifice with God Hand. Really, really solid album. And then some quality Swedish death metal in the shape of Bæst with Danse Macabre, I believe how it's pronounced. Yeah, make sure you check out all these albums. They are absolutely fantastic and worth your listening time. And I've got more albums that I would like to talk about in the upcoming future, so I'm just going to plan those videos as they come, whatever my listening habits end up being. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming future. And I have got another, not Super Metal Recommended, another updates and purchases coming fairly soon. I'm going to keep this one a little bit shorter, see how that goes. But yeah, I'll see you until next video, and remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.